Hello, friends. It's your girl, Lisa Dannielle, and you're watching Zoom After Dark. This week, Pastor RJ Buxton III comes to give us some realness on the 9-to-5 guy. Don't sleep on him. I know you're going to be in for a treat. And without further ado, Pastor RJ. Hello, hello, hello. It is your girl, Lisa Dannielle, and you're watching Zoom After Dark. Today, woo, I got a treat for y'all. Okay, so listen, the 9-to-5 guy. Amen. We're going to talk about him today because we are, and I'm not going to give away how I feel about it just yet, but it's definitely a worthy conversation. I'm super excited to my guest for coming to share after himself being a 9-to-9 guy, okay, a 9 to midnight guy, a 5 to midnight guy, however long it is that he's been working. He is a pastor. He has said I can call him RJ Buxton the third is with me today. We'll be calling him RJ after this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming to share with me.
No problem at all. I appreciate you. Thank you for being so gracious and dealing with my 9-to-5. That's the thing, flexibility, dealing with someone with a 9-to-5. You have to be flexible. And so I really, really appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So listen, we have, in the course of me doing a book and doing, the various things I do in ministry, a lot of people always talk about relationships. And one of the things that I noticed was that children of the King, right, were adopting ideals secularly and applying them to their holy lives, right? And then wondering why things weren't quite working out. Mm-hmm. And so in the course of this, I really began to notice that part of the reason was because of a lack of information. We went from, and I'm just talking about from when I started my book, we went from when I started my book right around to the beginning of 18, we had some stuff out there, and there's always been like, I don't know how it is for men, but books that are written on singleness for women are always geared around the man. Do this and you'll get a man. Do that and you'll get a man, right? And so I didn't see a lot of ongoing advice available as far as, what we could do to be better, to be in relationships or whatever. And that's what kind of inspired me to write a book. Now, fast forward to 2020, when everyone's talking about relationships, everybody's manifesting something, right? Everyone has all of these ideas of the formula that we need in order to get the relationship in our life. And with those formulas have come lists. And I'm not going to lie to you, RJ. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that I too was a woman with a list. And in a lot of ways, I still have one. However, I've had to remove everything shallow and base it on character. And I think that is a huge accomplishment for some women, especially when we've been with these lists since we were 20 and 30 years old. Who you are in your 20s is not the same person, right? And so I wanted to have a conversation with you based on something that I heard about. I am not a huge frequenter of the Nick Cannon show. So I basically just heard this uproar in the relationships realm of this statement. And so before we get started, I want us to watch this statement, and then I want us to come back and I want us to talk about it. Okay?
Older. What's older. He can't have a 9-to-5.
What? Why not? You don't want to have an honest job?
I mean, he could be a hustling entrepreneur.
So you want him to be you want CEO status?
Yes.
Okay, he can't clock in and clock out. No. Damn,
I think entrepreneurs should date entrepreneurs.
Okay, but still, there's people who have really good jobs with vocational skills. If he's a mechanic.
I'm sure, but no, you're not going to understand my lifestyle. You're not going to understand why I'm up at 3 a.m.
Okay, all right.
He has to be an entrepreneur.
A business owner. He's getting one of them stimulus packages from Donald Trump, one of the small business loans. He ain't buying jewelry with it.
Oh, we're moving into that direction.
All right, I got you. Okay, a business owner.
A little older.
Any race, or you want to stick with the brothers, or you want some?
I want to stick with the brothers.
Okay, so I will stop it there. And this is what I will say. Children of the King saying, yes, I understand exactly what she means. I understand exactly that now mind you, this girl is all of 30 years old, right? But you have 45-year-old women talking about, I know exactly why he should be an entrepreneur. I know exactly, I know why he shouldn't work a 9-to-5. And so what I want to do is kind of break down the anatomy of that statement. He will not understand my hustle. He cannot work. And Nick even says it. I don't give a lot of credence to Nick when it comes to wisdom. But one of the things that he said was, he can't have an honest job. Men are still, and there are women, don't get me wrong, because women attribute it too. There's nothing wrong with an honest job. When you initially heard that statement, he cannot have a 9-to-5, what were your thoughts?
When it was brought to my attention, I have a 9-to-5, right? And I'm also an entrepreneur. And I was in the middle, I worked for the airline, so I was in between planes. And I watched the video and she said it. Foolishness, right? The only thing that I can say, it was foolishness. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So when I listened to her, a lot of people regurgitate things that they heard other people say, and people, she kept using the word manifest. So there was someone, in her circle of influence who kind of helped her along that path. But for me, it's foolishness. She has a right? I'm an advocate for people to have a right to think how they want to think, desire what you want to desire, but it was still utter foolishness, if I can say it as simply as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is absolutely. And I want to go on the record and say, I think a lot of people forget when they're listening to the trends of relationship conversations that they are indeed trends. These people,
yes.
People like her go to other influencers for marketing purposes, and they tell her, if you go down this path, this is very popular right now. So if you look at anything she's done years ago, she essentially got famous for, and I'm not trying to knock her hustle, but for having a meltdown in her car one day, and then she got so many views that it became like a comedic thing that she did in the car. And I don't really know too much about her per se, so I don't want to speak too much on her career, but I know that she has then transitioned, and pretty much her entire platform, when I went back to do research after looking at this video, is based on her getting a man. She's been on a show where it's like, find me a boyfriend. Her stand-up comedian routine starts with her saying, if you even speak to me, you're my boyfriend. Like, everything is about her getting a man, right? Or dealing with men that are horrible. So as a single woman, you would think that her first default would be, let me not allow myself to be so, because it's obvious that I'm consumed with the topic. Then I finally have a come up. You were just sitting in your Toyota, right? And now that you have figured out a way to make women manifest, because she has a platform where she says, I can help you manifest millions of dollars, right? Yeah. Now everyone's manifesting everything. That's new age, but it's a different episode. Okay. Yeah. She has taken this, and you would think that she would be a little more forgiving of guys, but the moment she hit a certain financial status, he can't understand me anymore. Tell me, because you on your platform as well, you talk to a lot of singles.
I do.
Tell me if you're hearing this as much as I am, or is it not a thing? And how are the men feeling when it comes to approaching women because of phenomenons like this?
Well, it is definitely a thing. Men are we're somewhat in a funny place because the economy in itself is, somewhat shaky. You have some that are educated, some that aren't educated. You have some that are entrepreneurs, and they do have a hustle and drive. But, like I tell the singles on my page, all entrepreneurs aren't full of money.
Come on, say that again.
Yeah. I mean, when I heard it, I laughed because the majority of entrepreneurs that I know, I end up, because, I'm a giving person. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that my job helps.
Right.
Right. And so a 9 to 5, because I do both, so I understand both sides.
Right.
And when I talk to people, and I have heard this even before her, right? Generally from not people in the church, but after you said what you said, and I researched and looked through comment sections and threads, I realized that there are church women that I know, and I was disappointed, who have taken on this foolishness, and it basically goes down to they are trying to eat from the king's table. Right? I mean, I'm a preacher, so I always,
I know.
I have to use that certain analogies. How Daniel, 3 Hebrew boys, they were in a place of captivity, but they weren't willing to eat from the king's table.
Right.
Well, what's happening now, because it seems as like you said, people don't have the information. Mm-hmm. And because from the pulpits, people aren't having these raw, real, and relevant conversations, people are looking outside of the body for the answers, right? They're not, the women are looking to the older women.
Right.
And the brothers, for the most part, are looking to the older men. And so this is what we get. It's I'm chasing the bag. I have a bag. You have to have a bag. Right. I'm taking trips. I'm not bound by any schedule, and I need somebody on my equal footing, which is unrealistic for so many reasons.
So then what do you say to the person that would argue that what she is only asking for is for a man that is her equal, or that, she be equally yoked with someone? What do you say to that person?
Well, because I mean, equally yoked, and I think she's somewhat confused, and the people who might ask that question have to understand that equally yoked doesn't mean if you own the business, I have to own the business. Right. Equally yoked means that you in your entrepreneurship will use your entrepreneurship to make us better, to cause growth to happen in a relationship. And me, with my 9 to 5, can help, maybe even support, push your entrepreneurship forward. So equally yoked is not that we both wear red, right? Is that we both respect one another, and we both push one another to be our best selves. Because I know people who work for people who are literally billionaires.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. Some people work because they enjoy working. Absolutely. Right? And they might have gotten legacy money. So it's foolishness. People are missing out on good men and good women. Because I mean, there are some guys with some skewed views also. But people are really missing out on.
You're acknowledging that.
No, it's just the truth. I mean, I'm not. Yes. I mean, because the brothers on here can probably admit that they sit in circles and say, "Man, who taught you? Who raised you?
Right.
Who is mentoring you? Where are you getting your wisdom from?" But people who have that mindset, I tell them, you have a misconception of what it means to be equally yoked. Right. The end game is where you decide whether or not you're equally yoked, right? So you can have 2 oxen that are placed together to work a field, and they're 2 different colors.
Right.
One might have horns, one might not, right? So is the end game, is where you're going, and a decision that both of you all make to get there together. That you might be silly and I might be serious, but are we going to the same place? And are we going to contrast one another beautifully just like different flavors make a beautiful meal.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
absolutely. No, absolutely. You know, one of the things I noticed when I was just kind of surveying single women, there were some women that thought it was absolutely absurd. So just for all of you men that are watching, I just want you to be comforted that there are women that do not believe this. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and tell you, I do not believe this. I don't feel like she's dated in 2020, because if she has had to come across at least one man who felt like he didn't have to be employed. And we've heard it all. We've heard everything from I've decided to be a full-time Uber driver.
Yeah.
To and if that's how you make your money, if you can pay your bills doing it, that's fine. I think that there are certain things that you have to adjust when you have a family. I think there are things you can be doing for yourself, but you not doing anything for yourself is not an option for me. So for me, when her saying he can't have a 9 to 5 because I'm an entrepreneur, I would think that someone who, like myself, is entrepreneurial would welcome the stability, right? Because sometimes it's feast or famine. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a 9 to 5 job. Right. Deb said, who has benefits?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So sometimes, especially as an entrepreneur, you just, you keep a job to make sure that you do have things like benefits. So take me to what can be somewhat controversial. You are a pastor, correct?
I know. Correct.
You are a 9 to 5 gentleman, right?
Yes, I am.
You have no wife.
No wife, single.
You are single and leading a church and working a 9 to 5 job. Is that problematic in your dating? Does it require more? Is it more demanding of you?
It's more demanding. The beautiful thing, see, entrepreneurship and having a 9 to 5 isn't too much different. Like I said, I do both. I run a nonprofit.
Right.
I run an ecclesiastical nonprofit, which is the church. Right. And I also work in the airline industry. So what happens is it teaches me how the importance of work-life balance.
Right.
Right. It teaches you how to schedule. It teaches you how to make time for what matters to you.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I've learned. A lot of people can't handle people who are busy, and I think that's the issue. So the world overall has gotten so spoiled, and we say it all the time, and you hear it at church. People want what they want, how they want it, when they want it. The grind, the grind that our parents had and our grandparents had has almost disappeared. They say hustle, but hustle in these days means whatever I have to do to get what I want, even if I have to jump from thing to thing to thing, because I'm more concerned about gathering things, right, than having stability, right? People want the things, they don't want the stability. They want the now, they'll worry about the later when it comes. And that's the scary part about her statement. One day, Nick Cannon's show has already been canceled.
Right.
Right.
And Wild and Out is close.
Wild and Out, right? Exactly.
Close.
The stuff that she's selling, she's getting stuff from China because that's one of her other hustles. She sells them. She's made a lot of money. With Trump being in office and all of these tariffs and these type of things, what happens when those things shut down and she finds herself working a 9 to 5, and she finds an entrepreneur who says, I don't want you because you need to match my hustle.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that there are expectations that women sometimes can have of men that they don't have of themselves, because you're the provider thing. Yes. And I think that we have to give some conversation to that, because we had this dynamic way back when my grandparents were married, that the woman stayed at home, the men went out and they did, especially in the African American community, they worked in factories and all that for hours on end to come home and, with a little money and support their families. And then we've gotten to this revolution where, obviously we're able to walk into boardrooms and corporate environments on equal footing with men. And I find that it seems that we don't return to the 50s way of thinking until dating comes.
I agree.
You know what I mean? When it's about dating, we don't want the equality, because how dare you ask me how dare you ask me what I'm making, right? Or how dare you not put me first, or how, we have all of these expectations, and I don't ever seem to see, and I say it week after week, I'm going to continue to say it, I see meme after meme created with the opposite sex in mind. I see men talking about the kind of woman they want. I see women
Yes.
talking about the kind of man that they want, and I rarely see what they plan to be to the other person.
Exactly.
So then how did we get here? How did we get to a self-focused position where it used to be? Because back in the 50s, it was all about the man, right? We didn't even have needs because he was providing. Yeah. And of course, it's not an ideal I can get behind, because I love to work. I've always worked. But what I'm saying is, how do we get to the place where this imbalance seems to exist when it comes to our dating and relationships?
Well, a lot of it is, just to be honest, is the family is dissolved. Mm-hmm. The examples that we had in the past has disappeared. I mean, I keep using that word. I mean, now you have single family homes. You have, like you said, there is a difference. There are women in the workplace, which requires time away from home. Then you have the expectation of men, they're away from home. So then you have children that are sitting at home. And it is not saying that it is impossible to parent with both parents working, right. But in all reality, the only thing we see is work, and more work. They don't necessarily see the family. So father comes home, family already ate, or wife comes home, the husband already cooked and the children ate. So, I mean, it's basically going to take communication now. Because, I mean, things are so far gone that those of us who have some age have to literally pull people to the side and have the conversation. I mean, we have to have conversations that can be seemingly offensive. Just like Jesus said, he said, blessed are those who are not offended at me. Because a lot of times for growth to happen, it takes offense. And I think we have to, like you said, a lot of women, they want you to they will still want you to do the things from the 50. Open the door. That's what a gentleman does. Right? Pull out the chair. That's what a gentleman does. Right. I dare you in the middle of the night not jump to my defense when somebody's kicking the door in. Right? So they don't want the equality when it comes to, those type of things. And I think it's just going to take people being honest. People being honest. And we have to stop, brothers have to stop allowing foolishness to go on. And sisters need to start saying, hey, sis, you're wrong. Yeah, that's not right. I mean, maybe that's why you're single. Maybe maybe the mechanic that tried to talk to you last week that wasn't good enough, maybe he was the one, right? I mean, it's just, we have story after story. I can give you stories for days when it comes to, these type of things, but people don't, we have just lost so many different things. We've lost anchors, the grandmothers, and like I said, the father being at home and the mother not being busy. We have to find a balance somewhere when it comes to communicating, and we have to find some medium.
Well, and someone has kind of mentioned it, but I wanted to talk about it also, and that is that we have a tendency, when I started this platform, I always wanted to make sure at least once a month I had a husband and a wife that came to kind of put our feet on the ground, because I think we have a lot of perceptions of what marriage is and what relationships are. And I'm teasing my friend because she said sometimes people see where someone is today, desiring that, but not realizing the work that took place and where they started. Look for a Barack Obama, but not knowing his humble beginnings. And that is so very true. If you talk to a lot of the husbands and wives that have been on this platform, they will tell me, like, there were times when disproportionately the wife was doing better than the husband, and then all of a sudden, a decade later, it switches, and then all of a sudden, they're on equal footing. And so, I want to ask you, if we're getting a little too granular. I think because all you hear about I talked about Boaz last week, and they were like, if you don't, get Boaz, you'll get Broaz, and you get Boaz, and they start letting,
of course,
all of these asses.
Yeah.
And Boaz, and I've seen it in sermons.
I have too, yeah.
Right, on jumbotrons.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is we cannot have it both ways. You can't tell people, you better look for somebody that can provide for you, and he better this and he better that, and you're not following that up with a you better for her.
I agree.
You better this and you better that. Because you know what I mean? So my question is, how do we get to a place where on both sides of it, men and women, we're coming to that understanding. We're finding what's wrong with that belief system, and then we're figuring out a way to move in a different direction.
It'll be, and I am not a negative person, right? But I'm a realist.
Right.
In reality, and I'm on every social media platform you can think of.
Okay.
Until we, as individuals, right? Everybody who's on the who's listening right now, and the people who will listen, until you show the world who you are, and not be who the world expects you to be, we're going to remain in the situation that we are in, right? Until we are who we are, and everyone as an individual is happy and comfortable in their own skin. It doesn't matter.
Ask you, do we know who we are, and is that impeding upon our progress?
It is. It is. If the only thing you have and see is a world that is not reality. I was talking to my I have a 16-year-old daughter, three children, 19, 18, 16. I love them to death. And my youngest daughter is different. I mean, in a good way. She doesn't think, it seems as if they might be able to save us, that age group, right?
Right, yeah.
And so what I realized is, she told me, she said, Dad, she said, I want to be honest with you, and I want to tell you something. She said, my age group, she said, you keep leaving a message on my Instagram, right? And she says, but I have a Finstagram that you don't know about. And I asked her, I said, so explain to me, what's the difference between the two? One of the Instagram is the one that they use, and they put filters on and make sure the background is perfect. It's always their family and their friends, and the dog is smiling, and the pictures of the steak that they're eating with their parents, and they're all A's. And then the other Instagram is who they are without makeup, not dressed up, with their friends with snot running down, and they're laughing about it, right? So that there has to come to we have to get to a place where we find out who we are.
Yeah.
Pull away from the social media. And that's why I said it has to be, we are social people. These conversations need to be had in public places, which we can't right now because of Corona, but they need to be talked about at dinner time. Like, how do you really feel? How are you really?
Right.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
What is your largest source of frustration right now as a single man, like a single man dating? What is your largest source of frustration?
I was married for 17, right? So my frustration at this particular point is the, how can I say it? When you meet people not knowing if they want to be married for the companionship, the love, the growth, the accountability, the expansion, or do they want to be married just to be married? See, for me, that's frustrating because I've learned when I talk to people and I listen to them, it seems to me, and this is just from a male perspective,
Right.
that a lot of people that I meet want to be married just because they want the experience, or because they're older and don't have any children, or they are tired of doing it all alone. So I understand those things. Don't get me wrong. I understand being tired of doing it. I know what I'm saying. I understand seeing other people holding hands and you want to hold hands. I understand not because I travel whenever I want, wherever I want.
Right,
I go to the beach and I'm by myself. I get it, right? But I'm not going to get married, and that's the difference between men and women. Men, we are not going to get married because we're tired of being lonely. Well, I guess
y'all type in the comments if you agree with RJ.
That's just me. Some
say that again. Men will not get married
just because we're tired of being lonely.
Right.
Right. Men don't get married just because we want to say that we walked down the aisle.
Right.
Generally, a man who's been in a long-lasting relationship or marriage, if he really cared for the person and it dissolved,
and they said yes, sir. Right.
It gets very hard, and I'm just being honest. Like when a man has been hurt, right? And I'm not talking about hurt like, oh, she cheated on me, but I'm talking about when something happened that you didn't expect to happen, or it could have been your mistake, right? And you thought that you had got it right, and you changed it, and the person never got over it. For us to get back into something is extremely hard.
Right.
So when we meet people, I have met beautiful women. I have met very successful women. I educated women, 6 bedroom, 5 bathrooms, a boat, right? I've met so many different women, but when I listen to them, I'm like, do you want me, or do you want marriage?
Let me just comfort you right now.
Yeah.
That's not a man thing, okay?
Okay.
Because especially being a woman in ministry, I will say that I know women, right, who have the same gripe you do. Men will say, well, it's just time for me to get married. Well, I don't want someone to get married because it's time. I want you to get married because you want to marry me.
Yes.
You see something in me that you want to cultivate and live with for the rest of our lives. We want to grow together. We want to build something together. And I don't just want to build something. I want to build something with you.
I agree. I get it.
That's the same. We kind of have the same gripe in that realm.
Okay. And then let me give you another thing.
I know some women just can't wait to be asked, and they don't care.
That's true.
Right? If a one-eyed wombat ask at this point, they just want to be married.
Now, so let me say this too, because I get it. Another thing that I understand that I've experienced is I see a lot, not all, but I've come across a lot of people who want to change a man from being a man, so to speak.
Oh, you want to talk about emasculating men tonight?
But not necessarily emasculating men. No. What I mean is,
I want you to know something. Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
You can be as blunt as you need to be.
Yes. I respect that.
You don't have to temper.
I get it. I get it.
You need to say.
So so ultimately, I think that how men, we talk about it in the barbershop. We talk about we understand to the degree, not saying that we understand all women and everything, but for the most part, we get it from a woman's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to dating and the guys that I talk to, it seems like when we talk to people, it seems like it's the way you think as a man is wrong. Meaning when it comes to dating.
Phrase that, and then you
Yes.
tell me if I'm hearing you correctly.
Okay. Please.
So what you're saying is, like, men think that they have a general understanding of women. Both of us know about each other, but in general, we think we have a general understanding. Women also think they have a general understanding, but when they interact with the men then feel like everything the woman thinks in her head of what a man is completely wrong.
Or very close to it. For instance, you have some guys that play games, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to dating.
RJ,
I don't want to say this. So there's some guys that play games.
Right.
And then what happens is you meet a guy who's a good guy who wants to take his time. And he uses the word, because I mean you asked me as far as my experience last past, and he uses the word, well, you know, we just met. I've known you for 3 weeks, a month. Everything is going great. Yeah. And you're asking me already what my intentions are. I told you that I date for marriage, right? Mm-hmm. And I use the word like or you use the word organic and you become the devil. Organic.
Can I just tell you why?
What do you mean organic?
Let me tell you why. Let's just talk about this word organic. Women, type that in there if you've heard organic. Let me tell you why.
Yes.
Because there are gentlemen.
Yes.
That have heard well-meaning gentlemen speak.
Yes.
About certain subject matter. Yes. They will take the words those well-spoken gentlemen use, and they will cross-pollinate them to their twisted description.
I agree.
Organic means. So let me just tell you from my experience, two different, well, let's just make this grow organically. Meaning without any help, it just happens between us, right?
Yes.
A lot of men think that means, so we can date whomever we want to date. Okay. And I'm talking about Lisa now. So y'all don't get me when I say this, okay? I'm talking about Lisa. I'm looking at over here because that's where the chat box is, and they will light me up when I say this. But I have a different perspective about that because I have no problem with things growing organically. And I will tell somebody, if you don't tell me that you plan for us to only be us, yes, there's no expectation that you are only being us. And I don't want you to expect me to only be us.
I respect that.
You're not only being us.
I respect
that. You are frustrated because you could call me on a Friday night and I'm at the movies with somebody that's not us because we're organically growing this thing.
Oh, I get it. You get it then.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? There's more than one flower in every field.
Yes.
If you want me to be in the yard, you better tell me that's where you want to be. Okay. I'm not saying you got to propose, but you do have to, because let me tell you what I won't be. And that's one of those women that are out there telling everybody they're in a relationship and they find out they've been in a relationship by themselves for a very long time. Because you don't even know. I can't tell you how many times I found out I was in a relationship with somebody because I paid attention to them for a week too long. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Yes. So I understand what you're saying. Because I understand not wanting to go to dinner with someone, having a wonderful time, and then all of a sudden you can't really enjoy the dinner anymore because now there are all these expectations in such a short period of time. But I don't think having the conversation initially is necessarily wrong. I think it's when there's no traction. And I think the problem is sometimes women's timeline for traction is different. Yes. So if we've been spending time together all the time, we're talking all the time. Yes. And then I come to you and I say, RJ, where is this going? And you tell me where ultimately you're hoping it ends up here. I'm expecting you to tell me, okay, so we're not just me and you then, correct? So that I'm not blindsided by you doing whatever, right? But I would be lying to you if I said that women don't observe the fact that you're doing a lot of whatever. while you're growing something organically.
Yes.
Because they pay attention, and I'm sure men pay attention too.
Yes, for sure.
Because I don't care what you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't care what you say. If you've been spending a little too much time organically,
yes,
right? We organic, right?
Yeah.
If too many people is watering the grass, I don't mean that kind of water.
I get what you mean.
We with the Lord, we don't get to water like that. We get married.
Yes.
But if too many people coming over to cut the grass and pruning the hedges,
yes.
After a while, testosterone, right? Does that never come into play organically?
I guess and once again, it all goes by who wants what at what time. So you're right, it does, because I've seen that also. I've seen guys who say they want organic, and then they're like, oh, she's tripping. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that guy, but I get it.
So I think all I'm trying to establish is, I think one of the things that we have is an environment where we literally, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Your cousin just messaged me and he'd like to join the call. So I'm going to send him the link. I think we have one of those situations where you feel, and you know your definition for something. And I think women, and she said, just define organic. Very good. Yeah. And I think women have their experiences with people that may use the same verbiage. And so everyone walks in to the situation believing they understand what the other person said, instead of saying, what did you mean when you said organic? What does organic look like to you? Because I can say what a relationship looks like to me, but if I don't share that view, we're still going to have a miscommunication.
True. And it still has to be clarity before you move forward in any way. I get it. Absolutely.
And we're uncomfortable with that conversation, right? Because nobody wants to be upset or frustrated. No one wants to feel like they've been forgotten or slighted. How do we as women get to a place with men where we can have difficult conversations without making them feel like we're telling them what to do or emasculating them? Because let me tell you, difficult conversations must be had.
Oh, I know.
They must be had. They're inevitable. How do we have those conversations with each other so that you don't feel less than because the conversation is being had with you, and I don't feel less than because the conversation is being had with me?
It's just having the conversation and knowing that you might, some conversations are necessary, even if you know it's going to cause a split of some sort, right? I mean, that goes to business, even when it comes to ministry. Yep. There are some conversations that have to be had, knowing that, he or she might, walk away. So the earlier, the better. And I think that's where you go into, listen, I date for marriage. Yeah. I date for, of course, you might ask a question, are you dating anyone else right now? That type of thing. It's just asking from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And you're right. Dr. Deb said everybody just needs to grow up. Grow up and be real.
She said everybody just needs to grow up. Good grief. But okay, so let's go back to this, because I want you to know how verbal people were when I posted this. Is it okay to date the 9-to-5 guy? Is it okay? Yeah. And then I feel like when it comes to relationships, communication is still the area where we just cannot seem to get it together. And we go to church, and we're not always told correct information at church.
Yes.
How do we get to that place? How do we say we need to have some real conversation? Where do you see this going? Because let me just tell you, you are you born after 80?
Oh no, I'm 43.
Okay, so you're
77.
Okay, so so you like me ain't got that many shopping days left before Christmas. Okay, I'm kidding.
I know.
I'm totally kidding. But what I'm saying is, I find that millennials are willing to deal with the time wasters, right? They can hit a wall over and over and over again because in their mind, they've got plenty of time to waste their time.
They don't.
Once you cross a certain bridge,
yes,
you realize that you don't have the time that you thought you had. You don't have time for two things. You don't have time to waste time, and you don't have time to have no peace. And so sometimes, right? So sometimes in the preservation of peace, you're willing to take a little longer to jump in the pool.
Or not jump in the pool at all. Yeah.
Or not jump. Listen, because when I turn the lock on my door, it's peace. Is I don't know what up in there. You know what I mean? So I need whoever's going to come in there, I need to know that that climate will remain the same.
You preach it. Preach.
Right.
Preach.
My question to you is this. What does a woman say to a 43-year-old man? He's got, you know, almost grown children. You have a 16, that's your youngest. I have a 15, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm sure our girls are already talking about college. I know mine talks about college daily.
College,
She's going tomorrow. We talk about college, okay?
Uh-huh.
So they have that, and some of them have never had children. So I understand for the man walking in, you have that urgency there. What is this? What is this? What is this? But let's just peel back the layer, and I'm going to tell you, RJ, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a tendency to be blunt, and we're just going to talk about it today. You got 3 kids. You're going to be all right.
Yes.
If we are growing organically, don't start bugging me about fertilizer.
Okay.
Understand what I'm saying to you?
I get
Keep
it.
everything to yourself.
Right.
We're doing this thing the Lord's way. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Right? You can't
agree.
Say,
I agree.
God, I need you to stick with me, right?
Yeah.
So I can test drive the car so we can grow this thing organically. You have to be willing to take the entire process around the time continuum that you're willing to stay in. If you want to take time, that's on you. There's no pressure because both of us want to be ready, but you need to understand that you shall not thence partake of a single morsel
enter in
of thine tree until you get married, right? And I think that is the source of frustration, believe it or not, for people in our age group and older, because we've had it.
Exactly.
You know
for extended periods of time. Yeah.
Right. And you know what it is to miss it.
Yes.
So it's like I can understand doing it God's way, and I definitely understand taking time. But I do hear a lot of men that complain about us not taking the right amount of time or wanting to rush things, but they don't have a problem asking for what they want.
Yes.
Speak to that for me.
So I think it goes back to the moral decay of the society that we live in. And I don't forget the society. Let's just talk about our people.
Yeah.
Right? There was a particular time, and I'm relatively young. I'm right 43. But you know, there was a time where and I'm not into shaming people, but there was a time where people were rewarded and they received pats on the back for keeping themselves, right? That was just a time. The situation that we're in right now is there are so many people that are giving it up that it is expected when a man meets someone who isn't, now it is a challenge because it's like, they all say that. They all say that they're waiting for marriage. They all say that. And now I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a single man. Mm-hmm. I've been a single for 4 years, right? And I'm just, let's keep it real.
We're keeping it.
Okay. I personally, and I'm a pastor, and I'm not on social media, and I don't tell people. A lot of times I don't tell people because I want to meet the real you, right? In my search. But the people who find out, I have not met one person who wasn't the aggressor. I think it's just a different day. I don't think it's the guys necessarily I think there's a shortage because of people who have sexuality issues, right?
We're gonna talk because I was.
Okay, I mean, I got to right. You have the prison industrial complex.
Right.
You have the sexual issues, the people who don't know if they want man or
women,
woman, right? And so now you have slim pickings. And then for a woman or man of faith, you're limited to, because now people are walking away from the faith.
Yeah.
So when you do find somebody who has a 9-to-5 or is an entrepreneur, right? Who trusts God and who does at least confess to believe, who might be attractive, now you're in the situation where it's like, oh Lord, this might be it. Both ways, right? And so for guys, speaking from a guy's perspective, it's not like it used to be. When I was younger, there were 2 people in the neighborhood that was, oh, that girl easy, stay away from her. Or everybody knew to go to Shonda's house. Right? Because Shonda was the one putting out. Now Shonda is every 4 houses, and then there might be one that's not Shonda, and then the next 4 houses are. So it becomes kind of like if you don't do it, they will. And then I'll tell you this too, just even for protection. And this is not me outing the brothers, but I tell my daughters all the time, just because somebody, they don't pressure you for it, a lot of times, I mean, sometimes it's because of them being the perfect gentleman. And sometimes it's because somebody is put out, right?
And you're having that conversation with your kid?
Yeah, I talk to my daughter.
But I'm having that conversation with 40-plus-year-old women. Because men that are kids that will say, if you won't do it, somebody else will. Grown.
Yeah.
Right? Gray, hoary beard men are telling us we're not, I mean, and then don't mess around and be in ministry. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think I have had people tell me that there was somewhere in the Bible that the Lord said, if you believed you were going to marry her, it was going to be all right to do it. I have had all kinds of stuff.
No.
All kinds of stuff.
Yes.
And so I guess my question, RJ, is how do we encourage ourselves, men and women? Because I feel like there's a wee bit of encouragement that needs to take place. I definitely know that for women, meeting men who appear to be men.
Yes.
Who appear to be respectful.
Yes.
And then get married only to find out that they are gay.
Horrible.
Is devastating.
I can imagine.
And I think men think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think when a man meets a woman, and because I wish I could say that it takes men a long time to insinuate that you will be sleeping together or anything like that, but it does not take very long.
It doesn't take long either way. Yeah.
It isn't. Yeah, right. It may be the same for women. They're going to test to see if they can talk to you about it.
Yes.
And then it's, is that on the table?
Yes.
And I can definitely say that just as much for women who have had it before.
Yes.
We are just as afraid. We are trusting God too. Yes. We are telling God, Lord, I'm believing you're going to make this all right when I get married. And I'm scared because I have nothing to go on. Right?
I agree.
And we all walk into at a bigger deficit because we already know what we like. So
yes.
I can't marry you if I don't know that. And so I think men have this perception that women have more security in keeping themselves. And like we just walk through it just knowing everything's going to be okay. Like we don't have that worry as well.
Yeah. I never considered.
We worry about it.
I've never considered that part of it. But you are right, because I mean it's not even just the issue of the gentleman potentially being homosexual, but I mean you're talking about health issues.
Right.
You're talking about diabetes and high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Talking about these things can affect that part of the relationship. So
is everything working?
But my father always taught me, even when I go into I'm counseling a young couple now, And one of the first things I ask, because neither one of them are virgins, I say you have to have a conversation as far as drive, right? As far as you know what you could, because you don't want to go into something thinking that love by itself is going to be
We
the
just need Jesus, honey.
is going to no, because if the desire isn't there, that's going to create a problem, and you're going to be on the altar more than not,
And
right?
think about this aspect of it too. And that is, we don't like having conversations, difficult conversations about finances.
Oh yeah, that's
We don't like
credit.
difficult conversations about jobs,
Yes,
decisions with our children.
yes,
So to have a difficult conversation about sex going in is probably petrifying to them. Like,
yeah,
how do we
yeah,
have it in a way that's respectful,
yes,
but that's honest, right?
yes,
We're not going to
yes,
be sitting up here 24 hours a day talking about everything because we need to know our limits, right?
yes,
But at the same time, when you feel like it's something that could be more, that conversation has to take place, because if you're somebody that's cool quarterly,
yes,
right? Or Father, Son, and Holy Ghost,
yeah,
3 times a month,
yes.
you cannot be with, thou daily bread. You can't
I agree.
be,
You just can't
right?
do it.
You just can't.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Right. It's just not
It's
gonna
not
work.
gonna work. It's not
So
gonna work.
how do you healthily, because we had a sex therapist on a few weeks ago. And one of the things he did, he's also a pastor, and one of the things that he said was, you have to have these conversations, and you have to have an after sex debrief where you have this like conversation. So did you enjoy that? Oh, so what's, and I thought about that, and I was like, a debrief. I understand it, but in the time I was just thinking, like, it's very clinical. You know what I mean? It just puts me
Yes,
in this, something that should be very intimate is very clinical. So I think when you're a single woman keeping yourself, right? You are at home praying every day, like y'all are at home praying every day. We're at home
exactly.
praying every day.
Yes,
Keep me near the cross. But it gets harder when we are trying to cultivate something with you, and the mutual respect of certain things being off limits is not off limits for you.
but see, we can that can be fixed quickly, and this is where I talked about female friends.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that, right there, there's an issue when it comes to the being equally yoked, right? If this person can't respect
Absolutely.
who you are, there is no I can change him, or this might change, or like I'm going to win him to Christ. Oh, we got to get him filled with the Holy Ghost quick, so he
Missionary day.
and keep him by right.
Holy Ghost don't cut everything off though, y'all.
But what I'm saying is, you have to know immediately
Yes.
that this person isn't a fit, and this is where it goes back to the whole 9 to 5 thing, and what you said from the very beginning. Your list sometimes might have to change, because you want to hold on a little bit longer, knowing that this is what he wants, even though you know this is not what God is calling for you,
Right.
but this is what he and you. But I like him, right? That type of thing. And I tell my daughters, I tell my sister, right? I tell the ladies that I come in contact with who are just friends, that you have to immediately, let that go, because what happens is, the longer you look at the tree and say, it looks good to you, it looks pleasant to the eye, and it looks good for food, looking at it and thinking about it and having it around, eventually when your stomach growls, you're going to reach for it.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's just,
And
just biblical principle.
Right?
What's that again?
It really ends up being scarcity mentality, because
it is.
And Deb said that. She said people are afraid that they won't meet anybody else.
Exactly.
Here.
Exactly.
And I think another thing that we have a tendency to do, and I say it often probably, is that we ask God for something, right? And then when God shows us that that person is not that, we would rather pray that God make them that instead of
Exactly.
just they're not that.
That's
and
what it
moving
is.
on to the next person
Immediately.
immediately.
Because a person,
Expeditiously.
expedition like T.I. If people, if they are beautiful or handsome, intelligent, well spoken,
Yeah.
good job or business, well dressed, nice home. But God is not, I mean, I'm talking to people of faith because I assume we're people of faith.
Absolutely.
If God is not their priority, if you have talked to them for 3 weeks and they said they're interested and you're interested, they know you're a believer and they're a believer, and not once did they tell you they prayed for you, or not once did they say, let's pray together, then you have an issue. You have an issue from the very beginning, because leadership is a dictatorship, but at some point when the relationship is getting serious, prayer is going to be involved, because a man is going to understand that, let me show her that I can lead her spiritually. I'm talking about a guy that's serious. He's going to say, let me show her that I can lead her spiritually, and then we can move forward, because it's already pressing. Obviously, I'm attracted, you're attracted. We both had the great experience, right? And so we're keeping ourselves and trying to hold ourselves accountable. So we can't do it. And that's another thing, that in the church, we think that we can do it alone. We think that we're strong enough. We think that our nature won't overtake us just like that, right? And so we play around with stuff that we shouldn't, right? We allow the fire to just, we keep pouring gasoline on it when it's in our book instead of just moving away. So we really have to, it comes down to God being first. And that 9 to 5 God. So just imagine David, right? And I'm sorry, this is the preacher of me, right? I have to go there, right? So imagine David. So here we are. David had a 9 to 5.
Yep.
David's 9 to 5 was tending to his father's sheep.
Yep.
When he was tending to his father's sheep, he had experience that prepared him to save other people or people he was connected to in the future. So one day a bear came, he killed it. One day a lion came, he killed it. Then later on in his 9 to 5, his father said, I want you to go take your brother some food, right? He took his brother some food. And when he got there, working that 9 to 5 gave him an opportunity. He saw an opportunity, right? The people who he was in relationship with were scared. His brothers and the other men in the army, they were scared, right? But because of what the experience that he gained in his 9 to 5, right? The experience that he gained in his 9 to 5 of killing the bear and killing the lion, it put him in a position to kill the giant. And he didn't kill the giant just for him.
Yep.
He killed him for everybody he was divinely connected to. And that is the main issue, right? The 9 to 5 person or entrepreneur, whatever it is, it's all doing the work. God has to be as the center of it. And at the center of it, you'll gain experience, which can help you. So me and the experiences that I've had in the past, the lions that I had to kill and the bears that I had to kill prepared me for Goliath,
right?
Which is going to be slayed for my benefit and for whoever I'm connected to. And the same thing for you. All of your experiences and your 9 to 5, that's what a 9 to 5 ultimately is. If we're going to talk about it from a spiritual perspective, it prepares you for the Goliath, right? Absolutely. So men and women need to have a conversation, and we need to be real. Like and like you said, you have to be careful on how you have that conversation. And that's why those of us who are in ministry, this platform and other platforms need to have this conversation. Like, listen, if you've had sex before, that thing is thumped. That thing might be thumping right now. The movies that we watch, what we see on social media, and just not the wanting to hold and touch and I am, and another issue, and I just, I could be me, is I like to cook.
Yeah.
Well, one way of me entertaining is cooking.
Yeah.
Well, you cook for a young lady now. There's not too many guys cooking.
Right.
You cook, and like I said, you don't have to make an advance. They're making an advance.
Right.
So it's hard for me to be a gentleman, to be a God man, because when I do it,
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It affects like it should, right? Because the only thing I know is being a husband. And
Right.
there are women, the only thing they know is being a wife. And so it's just finding the right person, right? And being patient until you do. Because I believe I will not forfeit my peace. Like
Not
you said
at all.
earlier.
Listen,
I
peace
won't.
is non-negotiable. Tweet that. Peace is non-negotiable.
That's right.
One thing I would like to highlight, though, that you mentioned when you were talking about his job is that, you know, I love that he was still anointed as king, right?
He was.
He was still a king.
He was.
He had a 9 to 5.
Yes.
He didn't look like a king. He didn't move like a king. He
Nope.
was the least likely to be king.
Yes.
And had everyone diminished him to what his appearance was at that stage,
Yes.
they would have missed Palace.
Yes.
Right? Because they're focused on who he was then,
Yes.
not who God was making him.
Yes.
I think that is one thing that God, I wish if God wanted anything for women to know, it would probably be that. You're seeing a lot of men in their making stage, not the palace stage. You want the palace stage, but
exactly.
you want to be there for the making stage because you want to know that he can handle the palace.
Exactly.
Because everybody can't.
Exactly.
Right? Some women, I know for myself personally, I'm also divorced. I'm not part of it, but I am divorced. I will say that it is a challenge when you have been with someone when they had nothing and then they had a lot.
Yes.
Because when they're used to nothing, a lot is too much.
Yes.
Right? All doors open, bad decisions are made, whatever. And what happens to you is what happens to you. So you want to be there to see how he's stewarding his everyday life.
Yes.
It doesn't always have to be that way.
It's
but
a
heart and a man of character.
Yes.
If he's not, it will seep out.
Exactly.
And you won't see it if you're not watching.
But that goes to everything that David learned. The 9 to 5, and just because that's what it started off as, the 9 to 5 shaped David to be who he was, right?
Yep.
So the David, when it came down to it, even when he, I think about the story when David was with his mighty men, right? And this is a relational thing. David, they're in battle, they're in the enemy's territory. David's mighty men knew that David was thirsty. They risked their lives to go and get him drink. They came back, and David, right, he poured it out. And he said, I'm not going to take this. You risk your life. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I'm not going to take this. Well, that is a trait of a person who had and worked their 9 to 5. Yep. They were elevated. They went through the ranks. Like you said, they worked hard. And it causes a compassion. It causes a certain humility. Yeah. And when it comes to relationship, that's what a good man would do or a good woman would do. That you risk yourself. You're taking a risk. When you were at work and that gentleman who had more than me approached you and you turned them down and you came back to me, you risked something greater for me. So who would I be to have my chest puffed out and to treat you any less? So the thing is, if you're going to be thirsty, I'm going to be thirsty because it's about one another, right? But those are the things that, see, entrepreneurship will put you in a position, and I'm going back to the video, which was so crazy. It made me think of Paul, right? Paul wasn't anointed to be king, but the people wanted a king, so God gave them Saul, right? So once again, that goes getting something that you didn't work up to a degree. Mm-hmm. It had him in a position thinking that he didn't have to be obedient. and he didn't have to do what God had commanded him to do. So a lot of times when it comes to dealing with people, right, connection and relationship, you start making decisions and you start trying to lead opposite of what God commanded. So it comes on for relationship for a man who's looking for a wife. You don't have to look at the work ethic, the beauty, and all those things should be secondary to does she or he love God.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean that if people can not what they're saying, what you're seeing.
Yes.
Right? Not going to church and how they dress, but how they're living.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, because see, we can pray good. Oh, he prayed heaven down. Or she prayed heaven down, but they're not living anything. And I can almost guarantee you, we're not looking for perfection, right? We need a balance. I need someone with balance. I need someone who can, who will dance at the family reunion. That's just me personally, right?
Right.
I need that, right? Or I'll just, like I said, keep my peace. I need a balance. But it's still, do you love God? When I am at my worst,
yeah,
right? When you are up and I'm down, when you are your business is taking off and everybody's asking you to come speak or do whatever, and my 9 to 5 lays me off.
yep.
When you come off the stage, are you gonna run to me like TD Jake's daughter did to her? When I saw that, TD Jake's daughter has her ministry is taken off.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Her husband is also a great speaker, but there are seasons for everything. I saw a video, and when I get opportunity, I suggest that you all look it up.
Yeah.
She was in a crowd of thousands.
Yep.
She had preached a word that was amazing. I was able to watch it. It was amazing. And when she was done, you could tell people were crying and applauding. She kicked her shoes off when she saw her husband off stage, and she ran to him like there was no one in the room.
Yep.
That, my friends,
Yeah.
is what we are supposed to. That's why that 9 to 5 thing, because what happens is if you want an entrepreneur, and just because you're an entrepreneur, what if you take off and they don't? Right? Now you don't just want an entrepreneur, it has to be an entrepreneur that has what I have, right?
Right.
Then when the entrepreneur, what if his business folds or her business folds? I heard the young lady, she even said, I don't even care if he sells drugs, as long as he has a hustle.
Right.
And so the people of
So
God were listening to this. The people of God were co-signing this. Even if he sells drugs, you just want to hustle. See, hustle has little to do with the hours that you put in and more to do with the heart. It's a heart thing. I'm hustling in a 9 to 5 like you're hustling, slinging books or, standing before people. Hustle is a heart thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's we're going to make it happen to do what we do.
All right. Well, listen, Pastor RJ, I could talk to you all day about this issue because I feel like there's so many layers to it, and it will open so many doors that we can go in. Because we have talked about a little bit of everything tonight, but I think it all boils down to having realistic expectations, right? Yes. When it's all said and done, one of the things that you said that really struck me was that people will miss out on a perfectly good person because of what they expected to look like. And I am so grateful for you. I'm going to let you go, but I want to ask you guys, do you have any questions for Pastor RJ? Put them in the comments right now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I will say that I received a message asking for access at their original time. And I want to tell you that I will make sure that I tag you in the live rebroadcast so you can share it. And it will be available on Facebook. You have done such a wonderful job tonight. Thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom. Thank you. Y'all, I know y'all don't know that, but he is in his work clothes. He literally, it was funny.
Yes.
Speaking of 9 to 5, man, he literally came straight from work in his work clothes to have this conversation with us. I thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. I pray God continue to bless your ministry. You know, if you ever need me, you can call me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, RJ. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being gracious once again.
Yeah.
You didn't have to share your platform. It's an honor. It's been a long time. I've kind of stayed away from the, from these type of things. So actually, this is my first.
Yeah.
I accepted it because you're so dope. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone who came, to listen to us share.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, they said, Carlos said, "What's up, Pastor?" Both of you. Thank you. Listen, I am grateful to have been the first as you emerged. You have been very, very inspiring to me as well. And so I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for coming to share with us tonight.
Anytime. I'll have you too soon.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. You guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. That is a wrap. And I will, of course, rebroadcast it as I always do. I'll make sure that I tag you in the Facebook rebroadcast. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. Good night.
Good night.
Wasn't that amazing? I am so grateful to Pastor RJ for coming to share his wisdom with us. Listen, we are here every single Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Email me at contact@lisadannielle.com, and I'll make sure that you get access to every single meeting. You can go over to our YouTube channel and check out all the ones that you've missed. And don't forget to hit me up on any of my socials to get the DM so that you can get the code. Okay, listen, I'm super excited about what we have coming up next. And remember, I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. I love you. Take care and God bless.